China just rolled out something that has US planners paying very close attention: the J-20S, a twin-seat version of the J-20 stealth fighter. It's not just another new jet. The second seat changes what the aircraft can be used for, especially in a fight where drones, jamming, and long-range missiles decide who controls the air. This isn't rumor-level chatter. Chinese official and semi-official reporting tied the J-20S to a high-profile public debut during the September 3rd, 2025 Victory Day military parade flypast. Here's why that matters. For years, US air dominance has leaned on a familiar formula. Stealth aircraft see first, shoot first, and share data so well that the enemy never gets a clean shot back. The F-22 was built to win air superiority fights. The F-35 was built to connect the entire battle space. But a twin-seat stealth fighter hints at a different approach. One crew member flies and fights the jet, while the second manages sensors, electronic warfare, and potentially unmanned wingmen. China's own defense channels have openly pointed to the J-20S as a confirmed variant, not a concept drawing. Now let's be careful with the biggest claim you hear online. It can command entire drone swarms while invisible to radar. The drone control role is widely discussed because a second seat is useful for managing unmanned teammates, but specific operational details are not fully confirmed in public sources. What we can say confidently is this: a twin-seat stealth fighter is a strong indicator that China is building toward manned-unmanned teaming and airborne battle management in contested airspace, which is exactly the direction modern air combat is moving. So how does this become a direct challenge to the F-22? The Raptor was designed to dominate a clean, high-end air fight using stealth, speed, and sensor advantage. In a classic 1 versus 1 or even 2 versus 2, it is still terrifying. But modern combat is rarely a neat duel. The J-20S points toward engagements where one manned aircraft coordinates multiple additional threats, unmanned scouts, decoys, or missile trucks, so the opponent is forced to react to a problem that keeps multiplying. If an F-22 pilot commits to shooting down unmanned platforms, that pilot may reveal tactics, emissions, timing, and location. If the pilot ignores them, those unmanned systems can still feed targeting data, screen approaches, or push the pilot into bad geometry. The danger isn't that the J-20S magically beats the F-22 in a dogfight. The danger is that it changes the shape of the fight into something the F-22 was not originally built to solve alone. Numbers make that concern sharper. The US F-22 fleet is small and no longer in production. China's J-20 fleet has grown steadily, with multiple independent estimates putting total production in the hundreds and annual output potentially around the high double digits to about 100 per year in recent periods, though exact figures vary. In a long campaign, even superior aircraft can be worn down by attrition, maintenance strain, and the simple math of being outnumbered. Now look at the F-35 side of the house, where the threat becomes different. The F-35's superpower is networking, sensor fusion and data sharing that lets a formation act like one distributed sensor and one distributed weapon. If China's concept for the J-20S includes a dedicated operator for electronic attack, deception, and control of cooperating systems, then the target isn't the jet. It's the web that makes US jets deadly. If you can disrupt the links, jam the right bands, force radios quiet, or flood the picture with false targets, you don't need to outfly the F-35. You need to make the F-35 fight alone, with less clarity in a bigger missile envelope. Range is another real pressure point in the Pacific. Distance is cruel. Any aircraft's combat radius, tanker dependence, and loiter time become strategic issues, not just performance trivia. A longer-legged platform can choose when to engage, when to disengage, and how to threaten high-value support assets like tankers and airborne early warning aircraft. That matters because it's not enough to have great fighters. You also need them to arrive on time, stay long enough, and get home. Speed and payload are often brought up in online debates, but the more important truth is missile-era geometry. The side that can build a longer engagement chain wins. Detect, track, identify, assign, launch, and guide. If the J-20S is optimized to manage that chain, especially while coordinating unmanned platforms, then it threatens the way US forces like to fight, even if the J-20S is not a perfect stealth aircraft by US standards. This is where production and industrial tempo become the part that should make people most uneasy. Quality matters, but quantity has a quality of its own, especially when both sides are fielding stealth and long-range weapons. China does not need a perfect fighter to cause problems. It needs enough capable fighters, enough missiles, enough unmanned systems, and enough pilots to keep pressure on U.S. forces across a wide area for weeks. And the J-20S concept can multiply combat power without multiplying elite pilots, because unmanned platforms can absorb risk, extend sensors, and expand angles of attack. Now zoom out to doctrine. China has spent decades studying how the United States projects air power. Forward bases, carriers, tankers, and a network of sensors and data links. That creates predictable must-have nodes. If you want to blunt U.S. air power, you don't necessarily chase the best fighters first. You threaten the enablers. Tankers are big, non-stealthy, and essential. Forward runways can be cratered. Command and control nodes can be jammed or hit. A stealth aircraft with greater range and a second operator focused on coordination and electronic warfare fits neatly into the idea of striking the system, not just the shooter. What about the engines and tech claims? You'll hear a lot about the WS-15. Public reporting has long associated the WS-15 with a thrust class around 180 kN, and the goal of giving later J-20 variants true high-end performance, but the exact maturity and fleet-wide fielding status is still debated. The safe way to frame it is this: China is clearly pushing hard on propulsion, sensors, and integration, and the J-20S is one visible sign that they are not standing still. So, how should America respond? First, by not panicking and not dismissing it. The correct response sits in 3 buckets: upgrade what we already have, accelerate what we're building next, and adjust how we fight. Upgrades matter now. Better electronic protection, smarter emissions control, and tactics that assume contested data links are not optional. Second, manned-unmanned teaming cannot stay stuck in future program mode. If China is moving toward a stealth quarterback plus unmanned teammates, the U.S. needs its own practical, fieldable version of that idea, not just demonstrations. Third, training has to evolve around swarm-style problems, multiple simultaneous tracks, decoys, jamming, long-range missiles, and complex rules of engagement. Pilots can be the best in the world and still be overwhelmed if the engagement model changes faster than training does. The larger picture is this: the J-20S signals that China wants to compete at the system level, not just by building a jet that looks impressive in a parade. And the parade part is real. The J-20S flypast placed the variant in the most public, political spotlight China can choose. That is a message. We are here, we are advancing, and we want you to notice. The United States still holds huge advantages that don't show up in a single aircraft silhouette: alliance networks, combat experience, training depth, and the ability to integrate sensors and shooters across air, sea, space, and cyber. But none of those advantages are permanent without investment and urgency. The question isn't whether our pilots are better. They are. The question is whether we will give them the numbers, the unmanned teammates, the resilient networks, and the production capacity to keep that edge in a long, hard fight. The J-20S isn't the end of American air dominance, but it is a warning light. It's China saying they want to change the rules, make the air battle less about a single duel, and more about coordinated layered attacks where drones, jamming, and numbers compress the decision time to seconds. If we take that seriously, adapt fast, and scale what works, our pilots will still do what they've always done: win. If you support the men and women who will be asked to face threats like this, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Because the next era of air combat won't be decided by hype. It'll be decided by preparation.